the furthest north you've ever been? If you live in places such as Greenland or Alaska, you're probably among those who live the furthest north on a regular basis. Meanwhile, I think this adventure is the furthest north I've ever ventured. The United Kingdom. England. The county and city of Bristol. This adventure to the Severn Valley Railway began at Bristol Temple Meads train station of the Great Western Railway. Well, there wasn't enough time to get a pose shot with it because it was very busy today. I did get a good look at the train I would board. Number 221110, James Cook, a British Rail Class 221 Super Voyager. James Cook was beginning his journey from here in Bristol Temple Meads and was destined for Manchester Piccadilly. Why do I always sit next to filthy windows? Okay, this side is much better. Why am I getting a sense of deja vu? James Cook took us for about half the journey, going up to Cheltenham Spa in Gloucestershire before he would turn to head towards Birmingham. Off he goes on his own northern journey. Bye! We didn't have to wait long before the next locomotive of the day arrived, a British Rail Class 802, number 802011, who actually has two names, Captain Robert Falcon Scott and Sir Joshua Reynolds. 802011, along with the rest of the Great Western Railway's intercity express train fleet, are named after inspirational people who have influenced the regions that the GWR operates in. The first namesake, Captain Robert Falcon Scott, born in 1868 in Plymouth in Devon, was a British Royal Navy officer and explorer who led two expeditions to Antarctica, setting a new southern record for humanity during the first of the two expeditions. Funny that I'm setting a northern record for myself today. Meanwhile, Sir Joshua Reynolds, born in 1723 in Plympton in Devon, was an English painter who specialised in portraits, with this one being a self-portrait of himself painted circa 1750. He was a founder and the first president of the Royal Academy of Arts in London, and has been referred to as the master who revolutionised British art. I'm not sure where 802011 began today, but he was travelling up to
Ashchurch, Tewkesbury, Worcester Shrub Hill, and Worcester Foregate Street.
However, we got off at Worcester Shrub Hill, where we had to wait for a bit before the next train would arrive. Funnily enough, Worcester Shrub Hill is managed by the West Midlands Railway, despite not actually being in the West Midlands County. However, it is in the West Midlands region, which includes the West Midlands County, as well as Worcestershire, Warwickshire, Staffordshire, Shropshire and Herefordshire, so that makes sense. In case you were ever wondering how tall I am, boom, I am this tall. Or this tall, or this tall, or this tall, or this tall, or whichever one you prefer to use, I don't know. Eventually, the third locomotive on the lineup for today arrived, number 172217, a British Rail Class 172 Turbostar that was built in 2011. With the class first entering service in July 2010, with a total of 39 built, these guys work exclusively on the West Midlands Railway, so that's where you'll find these guys running about in the wild. Heading further north, we passed through Dorwich Spa, then past a bunch of diesels parked right outside the first main destination of the day, Kidderminster. My support worker was able to get a better shot of the actual train station here than I could, with me in the shot as well. We hurriedly rushed over the road, while being careful, mind you, over towards the Kidderminster Railway Museum, the first station on the eastern end of the Severn Valley Railway. The first locomotive I saw there was number 50033 Glorious. A glorious British Rail Class 50. We headed out onto the platform and saw two engines parked there, one of which being number 20142 Sir John Betjeman, a British Rail Class 20, and next to him was the first locomotive I'd ride on the Severn Valley Railway, number 51941. I initially thought that this engine was the same class as Daisy from Thomas & Friends. While they do look similar, Daisy is a British Rail Class 101, while 51941 is a similar looking British Rail Class 108.
No!
So close. Anyway, while I have very little information about 51941, I do know its class of BR Class 108s were built from 1958 to 1961, with a total of 333 of them built. They were used in regular passenger service until 1993, while today they are a common sight on heritage railways, where 32 of them can be found scattered across the UK, with 4 of them being here on the Severn Valley Railway. While waiting for the time to leave, we went into the museum, where I was amazed at this model of a GWR 5700, this one being of number 9716. Now this is one of the locomotives on my wish list to see, being the same class as Duck from Thomas & Friends. It is a model though, so it kinda doesn't count, but same time kinda does. I don't really know how to count this one. As we headed back out, we were greeted by this kitty that was very determined to not look at us. I don't blame them. Who would want to look at me? Oh, there's a brief glance. As we got onto 51941 and headed off, I caught a brief glimpse of what I think was another of the BR Class 108s, being shunted by 09107, a BR Class 09. A little later, after passing countless diesels, I caught a brief but very clear glimpse of another engine on my wish list. A British Rail Class 40. The same class as this Thomas & Friends character by the name of Class 40. Nice name.
Not bad, I've seen worse.
To our utter surprise, we passed by a safari park, seeing rhinos, and camels. We did not know this was on the route. Quite a nice surprise though. As we passed through Bewdley, we saw number 7714, a real GWR 5700. Okay, for sure now, I can tick off Duck's class off my wish list. And immediately after was number 50170. Remember how I said Daisy is a BR Class 101? Well, this is a real one. Yay! I can tick off Daisy's class too now. After passing Bewdley, I got a very up-close and personal look at number 75069 as it passed by. it being a British Railways Standard Class 4 460. Now that was close, I could have lost my arm there. As we passed through Arley, I had a few flashbacks to a certain man who gave me a lot of trouble in a particular game. It wasn't long before we arrived at the main destination of the day, Highley in Shropshire. Here I was met with another sign warning me not to trespass. This one expected me to pay a fine of 40 shillings, which in today's money is about £118. Now that's a little more threatening than the £10 that the sign at the Avon Valley Railway threatened me with. While on the bridge crossing over the tracks, I got this really nice overhead shot of 51941. And this one from a more eye-level perspective, although a bit far away. We headed up the hill to the Highley engine house, where I got pretty excited upon peering through the window. I might have been a little sneaky and sat on the footplate of some of the locomotives. I'm not sure if that was against the rules, but I didn't see a sign telling me not to. Anyway, potential rule breaking aside, this was the locomotive I was the most excited to see here. An engine named Gordon.
Express coming through!
No, not that Gordon, unfortunately. Sadly, he doesn't exist in the real world.
No!
I'm sorry, Gordon, but it's true. Wait, what are we talking about again? Oh yeah, the Severn Valley Railway. Sorry, I was having a bit too much fun with this. Anyway, despite sharing his name with a famous Thomas and Friends character, this Gordon has no connection to him, instead being named in honour of Charles Gordon, the Royal Engineers General. However, the plaque next to him does note the similarities between the two Gordons, such as being blue, impressive, and not always well behaved. This Gordon is a WD Austerity 210-0, numbered 600. Built for the War Department during the Second World War in 1943, Gordon served in the UK during the war effort. Once the war was over, he was sent to the Longmoor Military Railway in Hampshire to continue military work. Eventually, in 1971, Gordon was released from military service and relocated to the Severn Valley Railway for preservation. Fun fact, he was used to play the role as the character Gordon during Days Out of Thomas events. Sure wish I could have gone to those. Unfortunately, in 1998, Gordon's boiler failed, and it was too expensive to repair him, sadly. He was given a fresh coat of paint and placed in the engine house in March 2008, where he remains to this day. Whether or not he will ever be restored, I'm not sure, but I would sure like to see it happen. The first engine we actually saw as we came into the museum blew my mind because she already has a face. Yay, I don't need to draw one. This is Lady Armaghdale, a Hunslet Engine Company 060T. Arriving on the Severn Valley Railway in July 1969, Lady Armaghdale was repainted in a blue livery to play the role of Thomas in Days Out of Thomas events. Again, sure wish I could have seen those. Once those came to an end, Lady Armaghdale was returned to her red livery and is currently on display in the engine house, still wearing her Thomas face. There are a few other engines that were hanging out in the engine house, including this one, number 5764. Recognize it? You should, because this is another GWR 5700. Wow, I didn't expect to see Duck twice today. Technically 3 times. Right behind 5764 is number 48773, an LMS Stanier Class 8F, another War Department engine. Built in 1940 in Glasgow, Scotland, it was sent to work in Iran before returning to the UK for overhaul in 1952. However, once it was complete, 48773 was no longer needed in Iran anymore, so it instead made its way to the Longmoor Military Railway, then a few other places before it was purchased for preservation at the Severn Valley Railway in 1968. It's currently on display in the engine house today as it awaits its next overhaul. After a brief, very awkward pose with number 4566, I was running out of ideas on how to pose, okay? This is a GWR 4500 class that was saved from scrap in 1970 and is also currently awaiting an overhaul in the engine house. The last engine we saw in here was number 7819, Hinton Manor. Wow, another Manor class locomotive. I just can't stop finding these guys, can I? Although this one is unique, as its cab is open for people to look at the controls up close. Of course, I had to get this picture of me pretending to drive it. Phew, this has been a long day, and I'm basically all out of spoons. And we still gotta make the long journey home. While we took a break to recoup and have a snack, during which my phone was accidentally left recording inside my pocket, I heard a loud whistle in the distance. It's number 75069 again! This time with a much better view of it as it pulls its train backwards. Kinda like how Flying Scotsman did on the West Somerset Railway. Returning back to the platform, it wasn't long before the train to mark the beginning of the long journey home arrived. This one being number 20048, a British Rail Class 20, the same class as Sir John Betjeman seen earlier. I was absolutely shattered on the way home, honestly fighting sleep on the ride back. And that's pretty much it for this adventure. After this, it was just taking the trains back home. This was a very long day for me, and I was absolutely exhausted. I pretty much ran out of energy while in the engine house and was running on fumes the rest of the day. I was just thinking about my bed and how excited I was to flop on it as soon as I got home. Don't get me wrong, I had a great day. I'm just very prone to exhaustion on days like this. And as always, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I shall see you for the next video. Bye!